Hi, Darren Kaiser. Welcome back to the American Made First podcast. We are here with episode 9, interviewing Robert James, owner, founder of BuyRobertJames.com. I suspected he had some Midwestern roots. After looking at his website, there was a Ohio-based t-shirt, and I thought, why Ohio? But then I found out that's where he grew up. He's a Buckeye, and of course I'm a Boilermaker from Indiana, so we had some common roots, and really enjoyed talking to Robert. Small batch, very high quality clothing that he manufactures, designs and manufactures in New York City, right down there to the garment district. Very enlightening about things that happen and what you have to do to line up manufacturing for clothing made overseas and such. It'll make you think twice about where you buy your clothing if you're concerned about the ethics behind it. Continue to listen. We're going to go right on into the episode now. Robert James with it. BuyRobertJames.com. Thank you for joining us. Hello and welcome to the American Made First podcast, episode 9. Talking with Robert James. Robert, thanks for joining us today. You had a crazy day, you were telling me, but let's talk about American Made and the clothing brand that you represent. I guess that is you.
Yeah, it does have my name. And just I just want to take time to thank you so much for having me today. Speaking about something that couldn't be any more dear to my heart. I've spent a decade and a half in its service, and I look forward to speaking with you guys about it and maybe inspiring somebody. And
okay.
Well, a little bit about what we do. And
take us back to where that started. How did you get into clothing or the fashion industry?
That story is, I'm long-winded, I apologize, but that story goes back to my upbringing. My mom and my dad's a minister, so we had to look nice to go to church. And part of that was on a dime, on a very small budget. So since from a young age, not just in apparel, but in lots of things, if I wanted it, I need to find a way to get it, or make it. And my mom was instrumental in making a lot of things, and also training my eye to always be kind of what she would say put together.
Okay.
I have another video that I mentioned, and if you went to church and you didn't have your vest, you're going to get called out on that type of thing. So
really,
it kind of it was in my blood. But furthermore, I was an engineering student, like so many people, and hopefully some folks are listening, are on their path in their life and can get some inspiration from this. But I just ended up taking a job at a store. Somebody needed somebody to work in the back room, and I got the job, and I didn't know any better. So I didn't think they were doing a very good. I'm not the type of person that thinks people are doing a good job about things that from time to time. But so I began to kind of sneak out on the sales floor and sell stuff from the back room, which they were on commission. So that didn't work out very well. But my boss at the time was a cool guy. And he said, you know what, why don't you, if you clean that back room right up good and get it the way I want it, I'm going to send you down to the guy downtown. We've got a big, nice store, and I'll put you on a sales floor down there with him. And that's the way it all started.
Okay.
College job.
All right.
Yeah.
Everybody needs a place to start and some sort of inspiration. How many years ago did you start your company?
My first company was called Harmco, and that was started back at Ohio State. I was doing the engineering and doing the day job at the store, and I started using the CAD machine to make graphics for Raver t-shirts. Okay. So I had to learn how thick the pen was, because there was no fill tool at the time. So I learned that if I offset the like a line by a certain amount, it would make a solid, and I could start making graphics. And so I started making my first graphics on AutoCAD R12, sorry, and started printing t-shirts and doing that. So that was Harmco. And I came across, throughout my whole history in this business, it's always been a helping hand. You come in out of the blue for people, and they don't know what to do with you. And so they find a way, because you inspire them, to give you a shot.
Right.
And my first inspiration was a company there in Columbus called T-Shirts to the Rescue. And they had this like little ambulance that they drove the T-shirts around town in, and that was their advertising. And the guy came in, and the guy was like, now, what do you want to do? And he looked at the art, and I'm sure, whatever. It was completely left field. Because they were like, most T-shirts places, they make their money from premiums and promotions. Some big corporate person needs to make a bunch of T-shirts or pennants, right, or whatever the case may be. So when somebody comes in with a whole mess of like weird graphic designs, they're like, well, what do we do with this? And the guy was kind enough not to throw me out. He said, well, listen, we're not going to be able to really run this through our business and make it work for you. So what we're going to do with you is we have this guy, Mike, and we're going to put you with him on the weekend. He's going to show you how to shoot the screens. He's going to allow you to use our equipment, and he's going to print with you and for you, and you can get as much done as you can get done in a day. And you pay him directly, and we'll split it. How's that? Cash. And I said, and he said, that's going to be great for Mike. That's going to give him a little extra money. And he's a real cool guy, and he's going to teach you how to do this from camera to printed shirt. And that's what we did.
Okay.
And I was smart enough to know that Mike probably needed a little bit more inspiration than the extra cash. So there was a really great, at Ohio State campus, there was a place that had like 1,000 micro brews. So I would go and get him a 12-pack of all different beers and bring it to him as an extra incentive to want to do this with me on the weekend and give me this time. And you know what he did? He would bring me fresh caught fish that he had got from his bass boat that week.
Oh, that's cool.
And so a little friendship.
Yeah. Yeah. People need something, like you said, the cash is great, but appreciation and someone thinking about them is.
I think appreciation for somebody else's art form is really the way to go,
Yeah.
too. If you want to do anything, especially a collaborative process like a fashion project, you're going to have to really know how to inspire. And you're really going to have to, one of the things that you have to do is set a standard of excellence about everything that you do. In order for people to get out of their humdrum, just do it laissez-faire way of walking through life, in order for them to give you, that's how your product's going to be better than your neighbor, is because you've inspired and you've imbibed your organization with a standard of excellence, right, that this is the bar we're going to meet. And people don't want to do that, but if you give them a little something, for example, recently I had to move a program I'm doing. It's called Small Batch, where I'm making to order in smaller batches. I moved it from a factory to my tailor, and he's amazing, but it just seemed like a better fit for me right now. So my inspiration for him is, do you think you can sell this as good as the girls at the factory? And boy, are they nice.
Yeah. Yeah. I was
stuff like that.
That was one of my first questions I had for you, was explain small batch. What does that mean?
Well, first we got to go through, there was a couple t-shirt brands, but my brand, to get back to the question that you asked me earlier, is started by Robert James. The current brand, it was started in 2008, right around the crash. And that was because of a promise I had made myself when I was 22 years old, that I would open my own brand and store at 35. And so that did two cool things for me. One, it gave me time to add tools to my toolbox. So I never really had to put my name on anything while I was still kind of a novice, other than t-shirts and stuff like that. I had a number of cool adventures along the way that, taught me some stuff. So the year of my 35th birthday, I left my corporate job. I was doing graphics and clothing design for boys and men's for Target, Walmart, what have you. And I left January 4th and started writing my business plan in the year of 2008, and we were open and had our first store open in August.
Okay.
And so we had stores up until COVID, and right before that, I kind of wanted to make a pivot to online, and for a few reasons. And then after COVID came out, kind of closed my factory for months on end. And also, when it reopened, the factory, I'm not vertical. I don't own the factory. It really feels like that because it's definitely a family affair. But they all had massive orders in the garment center of thousands or multiple thousands of people had to buttress their overseas orders with Made USA because they weren't sure if they were going to be able to get those items from. But China was still not totally open.
Right.
And so they all made these orders that were very different for the garment center, and that went on for a few months. So even though the factory had reopened, I couldn't reopen. I couldn't make a collection because I couldn't find somebody that I believed that could put the label on the back of my shirt and make it be a by Robert James shirt. So I couldn't make anything.
Okay.
I don't know if that last statement made any sense or not, but
not completely to me.
Yeah, that I didn't think so. I saw that in your face, and I have a tendency to speak a little bit crazy sometimes.
Well, sometimes when you speak up in a certain industry, things make perfect sense to you because you've lived it for so long.
Totally. That's not one of them. This is just a Robert James. What I mean by that is like the Robert James shirt, it's that standard of excellence that it has to meet.
Yeah.
And so you could make a shirt and put my label on it, but that doesn't make it a by Robert James shirt. It makes a shirt
Right.
with a by Robert James label on it.
Okay.
So to me, I just couldn't go and grab anybody,
Okay. Now I follow
I
what you were
three
saying.
factories throughout, or 4 factories through, 15 years of manufacturing. And I really like to use one.
Okay.
You know, that has to do with any of you guys out there. It's better to be a medium-sized fish in a, in a regular pond than a small fish in a big pond. There's not a whole lot you can do it. So if you can give a lot of work to somebody, they really need you. So there's this, they're going to be more attentive to working at achieving that goal.
Right.
So I didn't really have a move to make. And I subsequently did make a move, and it was this idea of small batch. And I actually tried it in a factory that was a friend's factory, and it was a disaster.
Oh.
So I didn't do it for another. I did it, and then it was like another year before I was able to get back to my preferred factory. They had calmed down, and we had made an agreement to make it work.
Okay.
But it's made to order. That's what.
Made to
that's
order.
what it is.
Okay. Well, I'm checking out your
Made to
website,
order,
and the excellent factor definitely seems to be there. I mean, you got some really nice stuff on your website. You're still doing the t-shirts, sweatshirts, things like that, shorts, but you've all got some really nice dressy casual type shirts.
Yeah, for sure. That's our main product. I'm always going to do some kind of graphics just because it's where I started. I find I get a lot of enjoyment out of it. And it's something where you can, it's kind of cool because if you're doing it, there's 2 things. Made USA is one thing, but distance to market is another one. It's important. And the way that made to order works for like a lot of these print on demand things, it's made where it is. So if you buy it in England, it's going to be made in England. It's not going to be made here and then shipped all the way over there. It's the same silly stuff that we're dealing with here on the one side of why I make USA, right?
Okay.
I think that resource allocation in a shorter space is better for our planet overall. It's because obviously the Singer machine, the Juki machine is the same machine in China as it is here.
Okay.
The level of craftsmanship that the girl there can give you is similar, if not, depending on. It really depends on that what we spoke about before. What is the point of the factory? Is it to make a lot of a penny off of 100,000 units to make or is it to hold a standard? So if you can find somebody that can do that,
right,
it's the same. But the problem is if you're starting out, there's a lot of cost involved in that, getting that foreign company up and running and making your things to your standard. And I knew that because if you're making something for Target, you're going to be making 100,000 of something, right? So getting it right, and then factory A, B, and C, they're going to be slightly different and stuff like that.
Okay.
But what I also knew because of that experience, and one of the things about me that's funny is that I'm very hands-on with what I do. And so when I was doing graphics for Russell Athletic, I was like, why are we making these t-shirts in El Salvador, but we're sampling them here? And then when they buy it, the buyer is going to get a version of that. Why don't we just send me straight to the factory in El Salvador? I'll set up the artwork. I'll work with the factory, and we'll be sending them a pre-pro. We'll put a pre-production sample on the table and sell them that. So we can be in production next week. Same with China, sent there to bring in the collection, or Thailand or whatever. But most designers stay in country, and they're not as hand-on. They do the design work, and they work with the color, and they make sure that the button fits them the right thing, the thread color, and the embroidery checks out, and all this kind of stuff. But I really like to get on board and get in country and learn about it. And what I learned about it is that unless you are big enough to have boots on the ground on a global sense, you really can't protect your brand in terms of the ethics of how it was made.
Meaning labor?
How much did the lady get paid to make it?
Right.
What
are the conditions?
What was her dorm like? Did she get moved from her hometown because she wanted to? Or displaced because a big factory came and they needed to put her there? I had the occasion to work for a good company, but even there, when I was in China, especially when I was in country, we ate in a different room. off of Lazy Susan, especially when the Taiwanese owner was in town, and delicacies around the table.
Okay.
On the other side of the wall were the workers eating on 40 cents a day, a bag of rice and some protein and some sauce of some sort. And I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
And that's a good factory, right? So what happens a lot of times for you guys out there that care about these things, and you don't have to if that's not your thing, but I do, And if you sell, so you go into country, or you go online, and you book a shirt being made out of a country. A lot of times that order gets sold, right? So you've been there, you've looked at the factory, you've seen the conditions, you've been in the cantina, you've checked it all out. Your heart is satisfied that you've done right.
Uh-huh.
But that doesn't mean that order is going to be made there. It just means that that's where it's going to be received, and that's where it's going to ship out of. But there's a good chance that there's a dank factory down the street that's actually going to be getting the cut work and sewing your work. And that means that you have blood on your hands.
Yeah.
Maybe
So
not
they
blood,
they
but
subcontract
maybe
the
not
work.
blood,
Yeah.
but some nasty things on your ledger, and mine has my name on it.
Right.
It says by Robert James. This is from me.
Yeah.
This is my soul. If I had ownership of a factory, or I knew the owner, and I have done it. I did 1 or 2 special programs with manufacturing. We don't do everything in the United States. We're so far removed from this industry now that there are certain things that it's just not great. But what I do here, we do very well, especially New York. We are straight stitch woven makers. We're the best, as good as anybody on the planet for that. And so I use what we do well, and I capitalize on what we do well, and I know the people. It's a relationship.
Right.
It feels good. Even went so far as taking bringing all of them. When I had my stores, I brought all of the stuff on the train in a big bag. I might have $10,000 worth of jeans or jackets, $20,000 worth of jackets in a big dirty plastic bag. Not dirty, but like it looks dirty.
It's a trash bag.
I don't want you to attack me and take my $10,000 worth of stuff. I want it to look a certain way. Partially that is because I knew that was better for its footprint. And partially I'm just too impatient to wait for a yellow cab because I was doing this before. Uber was the thing, you know. And also, not for nothing, anybody out there that wants to do anything like this, it's death by a million cuts. So you better find ways to find $1 here or there if you're going to last as long as I did and continue to do this type of work.
Okay. So are you saying the margins in this type of business are slim?
It can be very slim.
Very slim.
When you do the math, right? Like if you do the math, you're like, okay, I've got, especially if you have a store or whatever, especially, I've got this material and that's the cost of that, and here's the button, and here's the fusing, and if you look in there, I have every product I made. I know my numbers. Yeah. That's important, right? It's all of the other stuff that gets you the workman's comp insurance and the heating and it's just when you look at your ledger at the end of the year, I mean, your vendor list is this long. So anything you can do the kids call it hacking the system. Anything you can do to find a way to save here and there. And this is my back. It's me. I'm risking some sort of injury. I'm not hurting anybody else, and I'm not trying to gyp the system in some kind of way.
Right.
I'm just using hard work. And not being a preacher's kid, first off the farm. We grew up with hard work. That's how you beat your competition. You outwork them. That's not the way it's done today, but that's the way I was raised. So anytime I can do that, I employ that strategy.
Yeah. Well, from one farm boy to another, I grew up in Indiana. I'm a Purdue Boilermaker. That's where I come from. And I was going to ask about, because I saw, what's that?
So I'm a Buckeye.
I know you're a Buckeye. I was going to ask you.
But I wasn't. I was actually, unfortunately, I was born in Exeter. Just kidding. Michigan.
Exeter. What Exeter was.
Yeah. So, we don't say the M during Ohio State.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
All M's are X's.
All right.
And my kids know to say, if they see a golden M coming down the street. Yeah. And I guess now that you guys won the championship, I got to
Well, I saw a T-shirt on your site that says, "That's so Ohio." So I thought, all right, what's the connection here? But you've answered that.
Yeah, that's right.
So,
There's some hidden products that are just for my friends on my graphic
yeah.
site. So
Well,
some stuff that
little
isn't really
little peek
collection
into your
level.
background there.
Yeah, yeah, or.
Yeah, absolutely. So you grew up around Columbus, that area?
I grew up in Dayton.
Dayton.
So
Okay.
if you guys have read Hillbilly Elegy, that's our vice president's book. I'm equidistant on the other side of Dayton.
Okay.
Same sort of town, if you will. We had a lot of. It's funny because throughout my life I have a hillbilly accent, and I didn't really know what the deal was, right? And I would always tell everyone, it's from a small town. I've got a dirty butt accent. It's
Yeah.
just the way it's small towns sound. But it turns out it's what's being covered in his book is that we had a lot of people come from Appalachia in order to work in our factories.
Huh.
My hometown is KitchenAid is from my hometown, and Hobart Brothers makes all the big mixers, and now we have Panasonic and Honda and all this kind of stuff. So that's where that influence comes up. And I was so happy to read that book because I was like, well, okay, somebody finally squared that circle for me.
Yeah. All makes sense
Why
now.
it sounds like from the South.
Now, you talked about death by a thousand cuts, and you've talked about some of the challenges of working with a foreign factory. Do you think you've got one thing and you may have something else entirely?
And the product may be something else entirely too. And now you don't know that until it's either you've spent a lot of money shipping bad samples back and forth,
Yeah.
or you take a chance on it and it shows up crazy.
So,
So I didn't want to take.
working with someone that you know and trust, someone that you have a relationship with, would be very, very important. You've got some boots on the ground, so to say, over there, someone who has your back.
So the only time I ever worked in an overseas kind of a capacity was with a friend's actual factory. I had a buddy who bought the Carhartt, a factory for Carhartt, a special streetwear version. I was dealing with the owner, and he worked for me when he came back to town.
Okay.
My shop had that kind of like. One of the things I understood about what we were up to is that I wanted to do this in this New York fashion thing in a Midwestern way, and
Okay.
being a preacher's kid, also we always had somebody else to dinner. We were always taking care of folks, and I understood that weary travelers and celebrities and workers, for that matter, if you're going to be in a building for hours and hours on end, 40, 50 hours a week for the workers and people who were traveling, clean, comfortable bathrooms were really important. And hey, go ahead, go right on in there. Our stores came with a refrigerator and a coffee machine, a kitchenette. I didn't put a fire in there. We had, other than, like these kind of air fryer kinds of things. But it was open to the public. The refrigerator was stocked with good beer. The store had a pretty good bourbon usually around. Thank you so much to Knob Creek and to PBR for supporting me. So we were walk-ups because we were downtown. So if you needed to drop something to me, have something delivered to the shop, we weren't just there to make money. We were there to be a part of the community.
Right.
Support that community of other businesses and friends. And so and we extended that to our patrons as well. So I really we had a policy at the end of the day that workers were allowed to have a beer 30 minutes before the end of their shift while they were kind of cleaning up and everything and putting things back together. And those moments where the walls, in a very controlled way, the walls were broken down and customers and neighbors and workers mingled together in this community, breaking beer together and enjoying the space and the music. We're really integral into our success. We weren't just selling fashion. We're selling community. We sell it, I would say in the store level. We sell it in a way that I think we're signaling to men that we're listening to you, and we're not trying to be better than you. We're just trying to make things that are really cool, and we want to make them for you in a way that functions for you. And talk to you in a way that's respectful. We're not better than you just because I got a sweet black shirt on. I just happen to like this field, and I have a degree in textiles, so I know which ones are good and which ones are bad. And I employ that for your benefit in a way that doesn't hurt anybody along the supply chain.
Well, your stuff isn't cheap.
How you look at
But, well, I had another guest that said, my stuff is costly, but it's not expensive. And he had to break that down a little bit. But He says, well, let's put it in the analogy of clothing. I've got 3 dozen shirts in my closet up there, but I wear the same 6 shirts over and over and over and over. They're my favorite, and they're inevitably the more expensive shirts, the ones that are better made, the better materials.
There's two things going on there.
Yeah.
There's a psychological aspect to it too. Because at the end of the day, we've really been sold a bill of goods on what value is. And I think that's what your friend, the other gentleman, I haven't seen his podcast, was getting at. We've twisted our ideals about what value is because we're a throwaway value society.
Yes.
We value the adrenaline rush, the dopamine rush of that purchase, rather than the value of the quality of something. Because if you get something of mine that's made with a flat felt seam on the outside, great material, it's double stitched, the seams, if I have a plaid, they match on the side, all these things. When you divide what it costs to buy my shirt versus what it costs to buy the cheap one, by how long it lasts.
Yes.
I crush H&M, whoever. Maybe sometimes Gap is put together quite well,
Yeah.
but in some of them, I can't say that everything is better, but that's the correct way to think about value. And also, the trick that we've played on that's played on our minds is that you're like, I didn't give anything for this, so there's no value to it, so I can throw it.
Right.
And that's what you're participating in when you have the more expensive one. You think to yourself, well, I had better get some value out of this thing to make it affordable. So you take care of it. You don't wash it as much. You don't send it to the crappy dry cleaner.
Right.
Right?
You hang it dry as opposed to throwing it in the
You wear
dryer.
an undershirt so that it stays without smell.
Right.
You take care of it because you value it. Your sense of value towards that object has changed.
Mm-hmm.
And so one of the main things that I had to do to go from year 0 to year 12, 13, 14 is let people feel that value. Teach them.
Yeah.
Whether it be speaking with them and showing them these things, talking to men in ways about statistics and about procedures and about how things are manufactured. We love that kind of stuff. Like, oh, the tool, this is a tool.
Yeah.
Get it kind of like that, more of like what you would think the way you would talk about an automotive project.
Right.
Different verbiage about how it's manufactured. It's strong and it's tough. We make clean, tough clothing or whatever.
Right.
So once you get there, so one of the main obstacles, the first obstacle is to get them to buy one of your products. So I always had a rack where you could get it for $108. We have $110 as our sale. Over that, you have to pay tax, and under it, it's tax free.
Mm-hmm.
So I had the 108 rack. So when items we only made like 20 or 30 of each thing, and maybe 20 or 30 of a color, or maybe 10 of a color on threes for a total of 36 to make the minimum for the factory. So we were never overly inventoried in any item. And if it did great, I'd make another batch.
Sure.
Right. So even when I was making full line collections, there was a batching to it. So when you're down to like one medium and one extra small, it goes on the 108. And that allowed folks that couldn't pay the $200 to get their starter set. And after it's performed for them the way that it performs, whether that be in length of time or executing on whatever plan they had for it, maybe they had a hot date and it went well.
Yep. They got a compliment.
They got a compliment. They felt better. It brought their chest up a little, out a little bit. I think then that person says, well, wait a minute. Either I can't afford this, but I want to frequent that store because they got that rack.
Yes.
And there's a chance one of my favorites might land there.
Yeah.
Or I could talk myself into one of the others. And then we had a really great sales staff that would, find a way for them to get the, don't take 2 of those. Take the one that you really want for $200.
There you go.
Whatever.
Yeah.
168's where we started at. And then as they move through their life, they continue to purchase. They may need to get something for a wedding. They may need to get something for a high school graduation of their child, or a college graduation for themselves, or a special Christmas gift. Then their girlfriend says, boy, you sure look good in those one shirts. What's that guy's name down on the Lower East Side? And they come and get it.
Yeah.
And so that's how you build a business. at least how I did. I'm sure there's better ways to do it than what I did, but that was my plan. Let the work speak for itself. Get it on somebody's back, and it'll do its thing.
Yeah. Now, going back to, you said cuts, how'd you death by 1,000 cuts, I think you said. What, from a business standpoint, what are your biggest, what's your biggest one or two struggles? What's your biggest pain points that you consistently deal with?
Not ever having really been an advertiser.
Yeah.
Right? I was always in the making of things. I understood, because like the main plan that I worked on in engineering, we always talk about value added, right? So you take a natural resource, you do some conversion, and the difference in the value, and that is the value added to that natural resource. If you got it for $100 and you made some change and now it's worth $300, you've added $200 worth of value less the cost of the change, right? So that was kind of where I always came at it. I don't think I did a great job at keeping up with the Facebook and the Google marketing and all this kind of stuff. I struggled because I like control, and I struggled to give that control to an agency or something like that. I always try to do things in-house, and I think that was something that, in retrospect, I never achieved those goals. I expanded until it came to that next level.
Okay. AI.
And I can't. My thing was I was trying to take over the world too. So while doing that, I wasn't content with staying where I was. So I just kept taking bets.
Right.
On myself.
Okay.
And on the brand. That would be a tough one.
Artificial intelligence, AI, is a big topic right now. Love it, hate it. It's here. It's not going away. What has been your experience with AI? How do you see it affecting your business, good or bad, positive, negative? Have you been able to implement it in any way, or do you see that as something that you could use to benefit you?
I think for any small organization who isn't actively learning how to use AI, they're really, really hurting themselves for their future opportunities. I use it quite a bit. I have some shortcomings, and one of them is I have I would say almost a small touch of dyslexia in a way. When I write, I'm a good writer. It's very difficult for me. Communications takes a lot of work for me. So I can write what I want, and Claude can make me sound like I'm not an idiot, and I love that. I can game out things that in my mind with a smart person adjacent to me, knowing that they are kissing my butt to a certain extent. But in this person, when I'm saying the AI's working with me, there's a lot of things you can do to employ things in your business. I'm building a tech stack for the company that I'm working right now, and I'm very proud of it. I think it works really great, or it's going to work really great. And that's going to help instantaneous communication, lifespan communication over a project. So I don't come at that from a position of fear. I don't think anytime you come at something from a position of fear, you're really attacking it in the proper way. Do I think it's fraught with some scary parts that can come true? Sure, I do. I worry about its implementation. I use it like I use any tool. I use Illustrator almost the same way I used it 10 years ago. I use it for what I need it for as a tool and move on. I don't use it as a cheat code to not do the work though. I write if you see my writing, I wrote it. I sat down and I wrote the whole thing. Yeah. And I use it as an editing tool. I've had an editor since I've been a sophomore in college, but it was a human before. Then I'd have to wake up in the middle of the night. Our trade was I would call him when the cool party was going on and pick him up and take him. And if I needed him to help me out with, making sense out of my essay about Euripides, he could do it. And so we had a trade. Phil Hamilton, love you so much, brother. Yeah. Amazing guy. But now I don't have to wake somebody up in the middle of the night. And I like that. I like having somebody that's available to help me and do things when I need them. But I don't solely use those products.
I think the tide is shifting to some degree from people I've talked to. There was a lot of fear about, people are going to lose their jobs. AI is going to replace everybody and robotics. And I think there's a shift now. I think we're discovering ways that we can use AI to optimize what we're doing, to make us better at what we're doing and make us more efficient at what we're doing. Yes, some jobs will be replaced or altered or maybe it'll be easier to do your job, so you'll be able to take on other responsibilities or shift into other areas. One company that I interviewed, they make stainless steel cookware. I forget what state, but it was fascinating. They've used AI to analyze their employees and find out what each one of them is absolutely the best at, and they've been able to shift them into positions in production that make their product better, and their employees are more happy because they're doing things that they're really good at.
They're actually interested in. That's amazing.
I was very encouraged when I heard that.
I think some of the scariest stuff is still in the future.
Yeah.
For that, and I think that I think there's also been some drama attached to it in order to get the amount of investment.
Yeah.
It's like anything, you got to sell it,
Yeah.
and it's got to be the answer to everything. It slices, it dices, it does, you know. So I don't think we're in a position right now to be totally to really know what to expect. It's fast. It's gone from you know, like listing things a year ago to doing things for me today. You know, I can ask it to do small accounting tasks, and it does it. It gives me the data. It can drop it into work that I'm doing into full stacks. I've developed an amazing. If anybody wants to help me with it, I have Made USA directory that it helped me completely build. Other than the website and that part, that one last step that needed to be done. But as far as finding the brands and helping me write the content, finding out what's going on. Now, you know, I had to edit the list a lot. I had to work on it like crazy to bring it from the 180 or 190 brands down to the 104 or 5 that were realistically still open and met the criterion of what I wanted for that thing. But I couldn't have done that by myself.
Yeah.
I don't even know who I would employ to do it. So there are things that it can help you do. I'm sure now if I try to do that same thing now, it would be a step easier and better.
Probably. Yeah.
You know, I would to keep up on this stuff. I watch Pivot. I don't know if you're a fan of that, but it's a really good one that works very well. So, it's a podcast that goes over tech.
Okay. I'm not familiar with it. Pivot. That's the name of it. Pivot.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you should check it out. I'm blanking on the guys that. There's a girl and a guy who do it together, and I'm blanking off. If I think of it, I'll let you know. But they're tech writers, and the main guy is a professor at NYU. He's awesome.
Okay.
I keep my eye on it all the time. Just like I didn't. I'm so glad I didn't miss the switch from ChatGPT over to Claude. It's a big, massive change.
Yeah.
Much better, and I think probably a better organization overall.
Well, let's bring this back around to American Made.
Thank you.
Tell me what your feelings are on it. Where do your convictions lie? You know, what are you doing to encourage as much American Made product as possible?
Well, I mean, I'm just, you know, I guess there's two things. One thing, I'm walking the walk. I have been for a long time. You know, I'm still manufacturing Made USA on a different level than I was before, but I'm always there to support the factory. Well, that's part of the reason that I've made a switch to having a one-man show for my small batch program, because the factory had an opportunity to take on a larger brand. It needed the space to take on a company. It's a Japanese company that's based here and does great work. And so they mentioned to me, in order to do that, it's going to be really difficult for us to put the energy into these smaller runs for you all the time. Mm-hmm. We're cutting, you know, just a few at a time. And it was a cool program. It was more important to me, and you would think that I would be downtrodden or that would break my, oh man, you guys, man, don't do that. No, it was like, that's great. That means your factory is going to be here.
Yeah.
That's the most important thing, that you guys are going to be okay. You're going to eat. The factory's going to be there. And one day when I go back into making large production runs, you're going to be there for me. And that's the most important part. So we made a switch. So I think, and we're still making New York, make USA, just slightly differently. I think number one is put your money where your mouth is. And number two, as a part of the directory that I came up with some statistics. And what the challenge that I came up with is, I know that American-made products and American-made apparel products, especially, are more expensive. And I can imagine that everyone's going to be able to buy everything that they need made USA. But we're down from 80% of the world's apparel being made here to about 3%, and that's over the course of 70 years or so. Right?
Wow.
100 years or so. So we were huge in this. So my thing is if you can make that bid to yourself in your heart, say, listen, I'm gonna divert 10% of my apparel purchases to Made USA. That could be a belt.
Mm-hmm.
It could be a watch assembled here. It could be one of my shirts. That would be great.
Yeah.
There's a lot of opportunities out there for you to express your Made USA in the apparel industry. You just got to look for it a little bit. And the people that I've found that do it, we are a hardy bunch that, come rain or shine, we're doing our thing. And I think you'll find that as you get to that 10% marker, that's usually only one item of clothing. You usually wear about 10 items of clothing at all times if you look at it. Glasses and watch and a bracelet, a ring, right, and jeans, a belt. So if you put one of those every day, Made USA, you've changed things. If we could get 10% back from 3% to 10%,
that's big.
Do you know what kind of a change that would make for me and the Garment Center and the people in LA and all these amazing new maquiladoras in Texas and knit manufacturing in the Carolinas? And yes, that's a tremendous change that you can do. Yeah. And if you're wealthy, you can do more, right?
Sure.
But I get a little bit tired of the being used as a sort of let's make USA, and people are really for it. And in all the years that I've manufactured USA, I didn't get a grant. I didn't get a tax break.
Right.
I got hammered. I got debt. I got trouble. I got but we're a hardy bunch, and we keep taking the cuts to do it the right way.
Right.
So if you like that and you value that out there, and Made USA is something that's real special. And you get to, like, not just with my brand, but you're then a part of a new community of people that are going to treat you really, really well because they really need you, and they're close to their manufacturers. They're fighting for them. We're fighting for you, and we're fighting for something that's really important. Because once it's gone too. It's hard to bring this kind of thing back. Find the equipment and the marking people and the guy that just goes around and does the buttons and buttonholes. It's a whole amazing. That's like the Garment Center in New York City is one of the most amazing things on this earth that I've seen in manufacturing. You're talking about a downtown manufacturing district with adjacent hotels and adjacent Madison Square Garden is right there. Broadway is right there. It's not like anything. Even if you go to Italy, you go to China, you're not going to be in the downtown area where you're going to be at manufacturing site.
That's referred to as the Garment District.
The Garment District, the Garment Center, go GC, go. It's really an amazing place with amazing people. And if I'm down and I'm feeling rough, I just go to the Garment Center. Because I know all those people, and I see their workmanship, and I see the guy pushing the cart on a busy day down the street on a busy New York street, and he's been doing that for 30 years. I've known him. I've seen him since I was at FIT.
Wow. And
every little thing that I'm feeling insecure about my business, about myself, about my effort, about should I keep doing this? Is it worth it? Those questions get answered.
Yeah.
Because I want to employ those people, and I want to see that through. I've always dreamed of opening a shop there that is Made USA. All of it that's made in that Garment Center, a place that people could come and buy those apparel products and understand that was made right up here, right up above this place, right
How
there.
awesome would that be?
It's wild. And all those people that are staying in Times Square can come and find something Made USA. Didn't have to go all the way down to the Lower East Side to do it, or wherever the case may be. Or out to Kaidi in Brooklyn, or over to, a shout out to some of my mates that make in the same factory. But, that's some special stuff. And it's been a dream of mine to do that. You have to face some pretty hefty rent.
Yeah, I'll bet.
But yeah, so Garment Center is fantastic. Another reason to keep fighting and taking the cuts.
Well, you're speaking to my heart because I don't have a background in the garment industry, but I have background in other areas, and it's the same feel, it's the same concern, it's the same, when it's gone, will we ever be able to get it back? So,
And well, those communities, those are
right.
communities. These are
Those are
people.
our neighbors.
These are skilled, wonderful people that work together and try to scrape out a little life.
Yeah.
And it's a cause worth fighting for, man. And it's something that I can't help being emotional about because it's been such a joy for me to do it. It's been such a reward, and I have been destroyed over it through it. It's been tough at the end there. When you land a big $1 million plane, sometimes it leaves a bit of an oil slick.
Yeah.
So, but at the end of the day, I would say to people, seek it out. And that could be, there's all kinds of products. It doesn't have to just be these types of products either. Like you said,
Well,
upholstery guy, go there and see it and smell it and see things being made. It's amazing. We do great work in America. They do great work globally too.
Absolutely.
I don't want to
There are
ever,
great products and great people throughout the world. All I'm saying, I think you've said it better than I could ever have said it. You don't have to transform everything that you buy to American made. Just make an incremental move. Make a conscious effort to buy your next product, your next belt, your next shirt, your next pair of pants or shoes or watch. Look for something that's American made, something that you'd be proud to wear.
So proud that you don't need 10 of them.
Exactly.
And that's so much better for our earth. We can't keep up with this. We can't keep up with this globalization and throwaway society. We owe it to ourselves, and that's one of the things that's always bothered. Here, as we are in an age where we have the information at our fingertips, and we're supposed to be elevated beings that are supposed to be taking care of this gift of Earth that just so luckily is just the right distance from the sun so that we don't burn up or freeze. Yep. And we're in it for a buck.
Yeah.
Really?
So
I don't see how we see ourselves as this evolved species when we can't connect those dots. I find it hard to understand, and I find it hard to understand how we are not earthlings yet, to be honest. Caring about each other as a whole. So what's good for the earth is what we need to use to function best and care for each other and their water. Because, by the way, just because the destruction that your products are making happen in another country doesn't mean they're not destructive. Because what we've done is we've whitewashed or clean washed American manufacturing. We have high standards here. That's another reason you should buy USA, because you're likely not going to get sick from it.
Right.
Because the plastics have to meet a certain standard. And shiesty people go, well, let's stop that. That stinks. I can go make something that I don't have to care about the regulations somewhere else.
Right.
But that means those people are dealing and working with products that could make them sick as they make the products for you. And their waterways are getting destroyed. And that's just, I got so lucky to go and see this stuff as a kid, working for mass market, and saw the three, the frogs with three eyes with the crazy stuff spewing out of the factory into the water right outside my window going, what is going on? You have a responsibility for the products that you purchase. And by the way, they talk about these guys so much cheaper, those products. They are only cheaper because they're not required to clean up the mess their products make on their way here.
Right.
The oil that's being dripped on as we cart products clear across the earth. Same machine, same stuff, we can make it here. So to my mind, if you factor in all those costs, you're not really getting a better price. You're stealing from somebody else. You're stealing their resources, their clean land, their labor. And I don't think that's something that if everyone knew in their heart and understood what that means, they would make a conscious decision to do that. I try not to. On the other hand, I also am not a foodie, and I don't eat all perfect organic food, and I don't have everything right.
Hey.
My whole life, I'm not more sanctimonious or better than anybody else. This is my passion.
Yeah. And
so I focus on it. But I don't want anyone to think that I'm trying to say I'm better than them, or we're all working to be, if we all should be working to be better people, better humans, better earthlings, take care of one another, hold one another.
Completely agree. Completely agree. We can.
And if my shirt can help you do that, it's available at BuyRobertJames.com.
And it should be able
You'll
to, for a lot of the reasons you just mentioned. Yes, BuyRobertJames.com. That's B-Y, not B-U-Y. B-Y,
Yeah, cheap legal.
RobertJames.com.
Guys, when you start a business, figure out a way to not have to employ any more people that you want. One of them is attorneys.
Yeah.
That's why I have the word BY in front of my brand.
By Robert James.
I differentiate myself from any other Robert James other than another one that would definitely be impinging on my need if they were in fashion. But otherwise,
Well,
I'm
I'll
good.
tell you, if you take off the BY, you come up with a real estate agent in Arizona, I think it is.
There's also a Robert James who is on Seville Row, make a tailor that's well named. There's an amazing furniture manufacturer.
Really?
I believe he's a Made USA guy. There's a lot. So that little thing, just 2 words.
By
And,
Robert James.
because I'm from the Ohio State University, I knew how to
There
do
you
that.
go.
Just you gotta be creative.
Yeah.
Got to be creative. And also the whole reason is like when you look, I've had the luck to be in L'Uomo Vogue, which was like something I looked at like my Bible when I was a kid. It's L'Uomo Vogue, is men's Italian Vogue. And if you look at any kind of a picture about fashion, it says pants by Donna Karan, jacket by Calvin Klein,
Yeah.
by Robert James.
By Robert James.
And usually they don't do it. They just lop the buy off and use my name. So that's what it was all about. You're having clothes by a guy, by somebody you know, by a name you can trust. Simple, honest, handsome clothing for men by Robert James. That was my tagline, and I believe that. You don't have to make something all crazy to make it great. You don't have to make it in a way that hurts somebody else, so it's brought to your table in an honest manner, or to your closet in an honest manner. And then at the end of the day, it doesn't have to make you look crazy for fashion. You can just look handsome.
Oh, you just got some.
That's what I built my brand on.
You don't. Everything you have on there, you got classic styles. You got some very, very cool, very unique designs. A lot of shirts that I saw. Yeah. If I had it in my budget, Robert, I'd have quite a few in my closet by looking at your website.
Maybe I have to throw a little code on here for everyone to get a little discount. But at the end of the day, yeah, I mean, I right now I have full collection, so, and I have some, at the end of the day, shout out to some great, to Chris Stapleton, Tony Hawk, to Jason Schneck, to musicians like Jim Eno from Spoon, and all these guys that have not forgotten me, even though I'm not banging down your door with advertising, call me and having me make stuff for them. And Greg and all these guys, and just regular cats too, that are just guys around the way. They're like, yeah, once a year, twice a year. Well, let me splurge and call Robert and see what he's got going on and have him make me something.
That's cool.
Or buy something on the already made up portion of the site. There's 2 ways you can purchase. You can purchase something and I'll make it for you, or you can purchase stuff that it's already been made as well.
Okay.
Burns, or I have to make samples, or sometimes I didn't quite have enough to I want to make it fair for the maker too, right? So if I only had, say, 8 and I needed to get 12, put 4 in, put them on the section that you can buy it off the rack too. And men we are funny. We need a shirt when we need shirt. Men come into a men's shop like, need pants, need shirt.
Yes.
Wedding, need suit, it's not something that's consuming your everyday thought. And so I try to have something there for you if you need something like in a week or a day or so, because it's slow fashion. You're going to get something that's going to last 10 years. So if it takes 2 months to get it, it's okay. It's not that long.
I have clothes that's a lot older than that. I'm sure it's not as high quality as yours. Yours would probably last me the rest of my life.
I really, I hope so, because part of why we do, I'm not just a nice guy, okay, right? Like I have an ambition and an ego too, and part of it is that I know that if I make these things great, somebody's going to find one on a rack at a thrift store in 3010.
Yeah.
And in that small moment when that person picks that up, I'm alive.
Yeah.
Right. I was here.
Yeah.
That's the choice by using your name. It's saying, well, what we discussed before, this is my moniker. This is what that stands for. This is the quality that it stands for, right? But it also is about, I'm here. I existed. I lived. I put my little scratches on the cave wall.
Right.
And so there's a part of me that understands that legacy. So I want to make it really strong, so that it makes it a couple 100 years. And I think that'll be really cool.
That would be very cool. I think that's all I have. Anything else you want to throw out there before we wrap this up?
Yeah, I do. I just want to thank you for your passion for something that is like I said, often used in slogans, but not put into actual work and putting your foot forward for what we're doing. I do appreciate you finding this little guy from Troy, Ohio, who's come to New York City to take on this industry and do it the right way, and giving me a chance to espouse my beliefs here and hopefully inspire you and hopefully inspire your viewership. And I want to thank you for that. That was very kind.
No problem. Thank you for coming on the show. And nothing would make me happier than for it to get back to you that someone bought a Robert James product because they heard about it on the podcast. So that would be awesome.
Well, I mean, it would be just as exciting if they got back to me and said, hey, I heard that guy, you mentioned Kaidi over in Brooklyn or whoever, my guy, the Select out in LA or whatever. I would hope that you would come to me, but moreover, I would hope that you would be inspired to find your local guy. Maybe you don't even like what I do, but you're inspired to find there's something out there for everyone. And that was one of the cool things. You can go get Reeboks that are made in Boston. You can find something really cool and, puff your chest out a little bit. I did something for somebody today right here at home in the good old USA.
Before I forget, that directory that you put together, is that a website or how can people find that directory?
It's not published. I have the data and I have the site, but it's not published. It's called Local Made USA. And if anybody wants to contact me, Robert@byrobertjames.com, I would love to finish that project.
Well,
it's right there.
That's a secondary aspiration of mine is to put together something like that where no matter what you're looking for, you can go online and find American manufacturers to meet your need.
Yeah, that too. One of the things I wanted to do with it is I wanted to elevate it. It's usually all these flags and eagles and I think that there's a group of brands that like American Giant and there's a group of amazing brands out there that are making elevated product made USA, from retail brands down to tiny little things, and they're out there making cool stuff, and I really would love to promote it, and that's something that's important to me. Yeah, I'm here about my shingle that I put out, and I love it, and my mark. But it's bigger than that. It's more important than that. So don't if you go on my site and you say, oh, this is crazy. I don't like any of this stuff. It's okay. There's something for you if you just do the search and it can be very, very elevated and nice. It doesn't have to be what have you. And by the way, if you look for it, there's also affordable. There are people making mass jeans. There's all kinds of stuff that you can find it if you really look.
Just have to be intentional instead of just
and you'll be rewarded.
Clicking on your normal go-to for whatever. Be intentional. Do a little research and see if you can't shift that to 10% from 3.
That's right. Let's make that small change in your life. Small change in what you're doing, and like I said, if you can afford it, a larger change, but and help raise all these wonderful artisans, keep the Garment Center alive, the what's it called in LA, keep their manufacturing alive, and we can do this, and I believe in it. I think I'd still do it even if I didn't believe in it, but I really do, to the bottom of my heart, believe in Americans. I think we've stopped believing in each other. We started to look at. It's so easy to pick out differences, but it's so much easier to pick out similarities.
Absolutely.
We're closer to each other in so many more ways than we are different from one another.
Amen.
Let's find ways
agree. Yes.
to find those things and to come and enjoy one another for who we are.
That is a great way to end this interview. I wish I could make a magic episode out of that and find it somewhere, but perfect way to end the episode. I appreciate that.
I can talk forever. That was a problem. I couldn't have one because I overtalked. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And you have a lovely, lovely day. And I wish you nothing but success.
Thank you. And likewise. And for all of you out there listening, please go check out byrobertjames.com. He's got some fantastic clothing on there. Everything from dressy casual all the way down to jeans and shorts. And even flip-flops.
We'll be back in a full collection as soon as my kids are able to be old enough to get around town, and I can put my...
All right.
When I do the store, it's about 100+ hours a week with also 360 days a year.
Okay.
And that's a tough commitment when you got 2 lads. So
That's
that's why they're
tough.
online. But I
Yeah.
can't wait
So just keep
to open
checking
them up,
back in
shop
with
it.
you. Watch it grow.
It's going to be great. It's going to be great.
But whether it's clothing, whether it's whatever you're looking for, my encouragement to you is be intentional. Try to move that needle up a few percentage points more to American made. But by and large, think American made first. Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you.